Hey, Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. I'm Officer Baruch, IUIC Tampa, and today my reader.
Officer Micaiah.
All right, and today we're going to go into a series that I've been working on called Who's Who in the Bible. All right, we've done Miriam so far. We've done John Mark so far. And today we're going to get into a forefather named Ahithophel. All right, now he may not come off as somebody that you know straight off the bat, but he is somebody that you need to know. All right. And if you haven't seen the previous classes with the Who's Who, I would like to break the classes down, and I like to break them down into classes. So when I do, a forefather or a foremother, I break them down into several classes, and I'll explain what that means. So I'll break them down into either a C class, a B class, an A class, or S class. All right. So when I break them down into classes, it goes over their notoriety, their power, their lineage, their wisdom, things like that. I kind of put them into a class. All right. So
ranking system.
Yeah, like a ranking system in a way. All right. So S or C class is commonly not so common. B class, they're known for their brave actions, worth noting. Okay. A class is advanced warriors, faith, wisdom. That's what they're known for. And S class is the supreme class. Like you have your Christ, you have your Adams, you have your Davids, your Pauls, things like that. All right. So today we're going to go over Ahithophel. Okay. Who's who? Ahithophel, the wise counsel of hate. All right. Let's get into, because of his wisdom. All right. Let's get into Romans chapter 15 and verse 4.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Right. So at the end of this, not only are we going to know who Ahithophel is, not only are we going to know about his actions, not only are we going to know about the things that he did, but we're also going to be able to transfer it into our life as well. We're going to be able to look at the things that our forefathers did and the things that we can pick up on, and whether they were good, whether they're bad, and the adjustments that we can make. So let's get into it. Let's go to Psalms chapter 41 and verse 9. So if you don't know about Ahithophel, just straight out, you will hear about him in the book of 2 Samuel, and you'll see that he was close friends with David. Okay, let's read.
The book of Psalms, chapter 41 and verse 9.
Come on.
Yea, my own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, hath lifted up his heel against me. But thou, O Lord, be merciful unto me, and raise me up, that I may requite them.
Right. So this is David sending up a prayer. He says, my friend, my somebody that was close to me, I ate with them, I counseled with them, they've raised their heel up against me. What happened that where David had to send this prayer up? Let's go to 55, verse 12 through 14. Let's see.
The book of Psalms, chapter 55 and verse 12.
Come on.
For it was not an enemy that reproached me. Then I could have borne it. Neither was it he that hated me that did magnify himself against me. Then I would have hid myself from him. But it was thou, a man mine equal, my guide and mine acquaintance.
My guide and mine acquaintance. We're going to see who this guide and acquaintance, this friend who wasn't supposed to be an enemy. Read.
We took sweet counsel together.
Took what?
Sweet counsel together.
Come on.
And walked unto the house of God in company.
In company. So they enjoyed being together. They counseled together about the actions and the movements and the judgments of Israel. Read.
Let death seize upon them.
Let death seize upon him. So now he's angry about that thing, and we're going to see why. Let's get right into it. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 1. All right, so we're going to give a little bit of backstory as we go so that we can see where Ahithophel is, see where he comes from, see where he's going, and we'll see what the scripture says about him at the end. Come on.
The book of 2 Samuel chapter 11 and verse 1.
Come on.
And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when the kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Israel, and they destroyed the children of Ammon, and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. And it came to pass in an eventide, when David arose from off his bed, and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon.
Right. So David sees her from his room. He looks down and sees this woman bathing herself. And David doesn't turn away. He watches. Read, and he's enticed. Come on.
And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam?
Now remember that name, the daughter of Eliam. Read.
The wife of Uriah the Hittite?
So this is a married sister. Come on.
And David sent messengers, and took her. And she came in unto him, and he lay with her. For she was purified from her uncleanness. And she returned unto her house.
Come on.
And the woman conceived, and sent and told David, and said, I am with child.
Now we're in a bit of a conundrum, okay? Because David took a mighty man named Uriah, his wife, and lay with her, and now she's pregnant. So David is trying to figure out what type of moves he should make. Remember, the scripture says Israel is wise to do counsel. Let's see what wise counsel David is. Remember, he had an acquaintance that counseled with him. I wonder if David went to this counselor to see what moves he should make. Read.
And David sent to Joab, saying, Send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah was come unto him, David demanded of him how Joab did, and how the people did, and how the war prospered.
So he says, bring Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. And I'm just going to talk to him. I'm going to pick his brain a little bit. I'm going to fill out his spirit. Hey, Uriah, how's the battle going, man? Oh, man, that's awesome. That's dope. So you killed how many people? Oh, man. All right, cool. He's faking the funk with them. Read.
And David said to Uriah, Go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house. And there followed him a mess of meat from the king. But Uriah slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and went not down to his house.
He slept with the servants of his lord and went not down into his house. Uriah was a faithful, loyal, mighty warrior of Israel. Read.
And when they had told David, saying, Uriah went not down into his house, David said unto Uriah, Camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thine house?
Are you not hungry? You was out there fighting, man. You told me how good you did. Why don't you want to go home? I sent you food. I sent you some wine. I sent you, good tidings. Why don't you go home and have a little bit of rest, Uriah? Come on.
And Uriah said unto David, The ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into mine house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As thou livest, and as thy soul liveth, I will not do this thing.
Right, read.
And David said to Uriah, Tarry here today also, and tomorrow I will let thee depart. So Uriah abode in Jerusalem that day and the morrow.
So David says, all right, well, this brother's too loyal, man. He's too loyal for his own good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let him sleep here tonight, and then I'll send him away tomorrow. But I'm not going to send him away empty-handed. Read.
And when David had called him, he did eat and drink before him, and he made him drunk. And at even he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his lord, but went not down to his house. And it came to pass in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah.
So he wrote a letter to Joab, sealed it, and sent it by the hand of Uriah, the same man whose wife he just slept with, the same man who he wanted to go home to sleep with his wife to pretend that he was trying to create a whole Maury situation. Y'all remember Maury Povich? That's what David was doing, okay? But Uriah wasn't falling for well, he didn't know, but he wasn't going for it because he was in the spirit of the Lord. All right, read.
And he wrote in the letter, saying, Set ye Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die.
See, David knew how valiant, how loyal Uriah was, because he knew that Uriah wouldn't open the letter. He knew that he wasn't going to be nosy about anything. He knew that he had a good man in Uriah. Read.
And it came to pass, when Joab observed the city, that he assigned Uriah unto a place where he knew that valiant men were. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab. And there fell some of the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also.
Right. So Joab goes out to scout, and he says, you know what? We're going to go right there. And I'm going to send Uriah right there because the king told me to do that. Read. What verse are we at?
Verse 18.
Come on.
Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if it be so that the king's wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approached ye so nigh unto the city when ye did fight? Knew ye not that they would shoot from the wall?
Right. So you gotta read it in such a way where he says, hey, and if so be that the king wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approach ye so nigh unto the city when ye did fight? You know, like, why you go up to, so many of my people died. Why you go there? Read.
Who smote from Abimelech, who smote Abimelech, the son of Jerubesheth? Did not a woman cast a piece of a millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Thebes? Why went ye nigh the wall?
You know about this story, Joab. You know about everything that happened like that. Why did you go towards the wall? If David says that, Joab is prepping the messenger. He says, if David gets upset with you and he says these things, read.
Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.
Thy servant Uriah, the Hittite is dead also. So he's pretty much gaming them and prepping them. If David gets upset, he's like, hey, David, we had to go into the hottest part of the battle because we needed to kill Uriah, right? He's such a mighty warrior. We had to go into the hottest part of the battle. David, come on.
So the messenger went and came and showed David all that Joab had sent him for. And the messenger said unto David, surely the men prevailed against us and came out unto us into the field. And we were upon them, even unto the entering of the gate.
So they go to fill to the entering of the gate, to infiltrate the gate, or the tower, the castle, read.
And the shooters shot from off the wall upon thy servants. And some of the king's servants be dead. And thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.
Right, so technically, Uriah was killed by sniper fire, all right? He was shot from the towers in the hottest part of the battle by sniper fire, all right? Read.
Then David said unto the messenger, thus shalt thou say unto Joab, let not this thing displease thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as another. Make thy battle more strong against the city and overthrow it. And encourage thou him. And when the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband.
She mourned for her husband, all right? Because, you know, the king, and I'm not going to say she's totally absolved from any wrong, because she knew that it was adultery. You understand? She knew that she was in the wrong, but that doesn't mean that she didn't care for this man that was caring for her, all right, which was her husband Uriah. Okay, read.
And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife, and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord.
But the thing that David did, he displeased the Lord. He said, Joab, yay, encourage yourself, brother. You did a good thing. Thank you. All right. So now as we start to see, there's always repercussions for the sins and the decisions that we make, especially as leaders. Yes, we're going into David right now, but we're also going to be able to see where Ahithophel comes in. Remember, he said, my guide, my counselor, mine acquaintance is against me. Why? That's what we're figuring out. Stay tuned. Come on. 12,
The
verse
book
1.
of 2 Samuel, chapter 12 and verse one. And the Lord sent Nathan unto David, and he came unto him and said unto him, there were two men in one city, the one rich and the other poor.
Right. So Nathan is coming and telling David this parable. He says there was two men in one city, one rich and one poor. Read.
The rich man had exceeding many flocks and herds,
The rich man had everything he wanted. Come on.
but the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb,
This poor man had only one little ewe lamb. That's all he had. Read.
which he had bought and nourished up.
Uh-huh.
And it grew up together with him.
Now, he's given a parable or similitude of Uriah and his wife. So I want y'all, as we're reading, imagine the poor man as Uriah and the ewe lamb as Bathsheba. When he said he purchased the ewe lamb, what do we have to give to the fathers? A dowry. You understand? So he took Bathsheba under his wing. So read verse 3 again.
Verse 3. But the poor man had nothing, save one little ewe lamb, which he had bought up and nourished up.
He nourished up. He bought her, took her under his house, nourished her up in the scripture, nourished her up in love, nourished her up under his house. Read.
And it grew up together with him.
They grew up together since a youth. Read.
And with his children.
Uh-huh.
And it did eat of its own meat, and drank of his own cup.
Come on.
And lay in his bosom, and was unto him as a daughter.
And was unto him as a daughter. He looked after her. He made sure that she was protected. He took care of her father's daughter. You understand? He took care of her as a loving husband should. Read.
Verse 4. And there came a traveler unto the rich man, and he spared to take of his own flock and of his own herd, to dress for the wayfaring man that was come unto him, but took the poor man's lamb, and dressed it for the man that was come to him.
So he took of the poor man's lamb, which would be Uriah's wife, and dressed it for himself. You understand? So let's pull up that video. I want to give a little imagery of what we just kind of read, or what could have been. Go ahead, read that, or show that video real quick.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Bishop has shown this several times, and this rings true to this point right here, how they were grown up together and how he took care of her and the life that they wanted to live together. All praises to the Lord. So we saw that, right? We saw what could have happened. We saw how, that vision of black love, by the way, okay? Because these were black people.
That's right.
All right, black love, by the way. But it was cut off. It was cut short, okay? It was cut short, and many families were affected by that thing, all right? Uriah loved his wife, you understand? So let's pick back up where we left off at verse 5, or start at verse 5.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 12 and verse 5.
Come on.
And David's anger was greatly kindled against the man. And he said to Nathan, as the Lord liveth, the man that hath done this thing shall surely die.
As the Lord liveth, the man that did this thing is going to die. How dare a man that has everything he needs take from a poor man and or his little ewe lamb and all of that? How dare he? Read.
And he shall restore the lamb fourfold, because he did this thing, and because he had no pity. And Nathan said to David,
What'd he say?
Thou art the man.
He says, David, that man is you. Wow. Read.
Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I anointed thee king over Israel, and I delivered thee out of the hand of Saul. And I gave thee thy master's house and thy master's wives into thy bosom.
Come on.
And gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little,
If that wasn't enough, David, read.
I would moreover have given unto thee such and such things.
I would have given you this. I would have given you that. I would have given you whatever you asked for, David. Read.
Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord, to do evil in his sight? Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and hast taken his wife to be thy wife, and hast slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore, the sword shall never depart from thine house.
Now remember this. It says, therefore, because you did this thing, the sword will not depart from your house, David. Read.
Because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife.
Come on.
Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house.
Out of thine own house, read.
And I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of the sun.
Come on.
For thou didst it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel.
You thought I didn't see it, David. You thought nobody saw it because the kings and everybody else was out in the field and you stayed behind. You thought nobody saw it, David, but I did. Read.
And before the sun.
And read verse 13.
And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said unto David.
So David admitted to his sin. And not only that, David repented from his sins in that regard. Read.
And Nathan said unto David, the Lord also hath put away thy sin.
He was forgiven of his sin. Read.
Thou shalt not die.
Thou shalt not die. But his firstborn got that judgment and was put to death by the Lord. Okay. Well, read. I'll show you. Come on.
Howbeit,
Of
because
Bathsheba. Read.
Howbeit, because by this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die.
That was the judgment. He saved David and put that judgment on the child, the boy child, okay, or the baby. All right. Let's go. Let's go to. All right. So just to sum it up, all right, as we continue through the scriptures, we're not going to be able to read everything. But I do want to introduce to you one of David's sons named Absalom. All right. So you read about Amnon, one of David's sons, and you read about Tamar. Amnon was in love with his stepsister Tamar. OK, and being so, Amnon rapes his sister Tamar. Absalom, her brother, waits 2 years after that and commands a hit on Amnon while he was turned up on the wine. All right, let's get that real quick in 2 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 23. We're going to speed it up a little bit for the sake of time.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 13 and verse 23.
Come on.
And it came to pass after 2 full years that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hazor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the king's sons. And Absalom came to the king and said, behold, now thy servant hath had sheep shearers, let the king. I beseech thee, and his servant go with thy servant. And the king said to Absalom, nay, my son, let us not all now go, lest we be chargeable unto thee.
Right. Go to verse 28.
Verse 28. Now Absalom had commanded his servants, saying.
So once he got Amnon in the building and the king's sons in the building, convinced David to let this thing be. Read.
Mark ye now, when Amnon's heart is merry with wine, and when I say unto you, smite Ammon, then kill him. Fear not. Have not I commanded you? Be courageous and be valiant.
Come on.
And the servants of Absalom did unto Ammon as did unto Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the king's sons arose, and every man gat him up upon his mule and fled.
You see that? So Absalom, the son of David, killed another son of David for raping his stepsister, okay, or his sister. And so this is one of the actions that took place after David had committed that sin against the Lord and by killing Uriah, the Hittite, all right, the husband of Bathsheba. Let's continue. So we read that was 2 years after Amnon did what he did. All right. So after this, Absalom flees to Jeshurun for 3 years. Let's read that in 2 Samuel 13, verse 38 through 40.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 13 and verse 38.
Mm-hmm.
So Absalom fled and went to Geshur and was there 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead.
Right. He was over it. He was like, you know what? I'm fine now. I'm good. I want my son back. Absalom, he did it, because what Amnon, he committed a great evil in the sight of the Lord, in the sight of Israel. Let me bring my son back. Read. Read one more.
Chapter 14 and verse 1.
Come on.
Now Joab the son of Zeruiah perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom. And Joab sent to Tekoa and fetched thence a wise woman.
All right. So he's looking at his king and he says, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring Absalom back. I can see our king isn't really himself. Okay. And so Joab requests for Absalom to come back and goes to get him. Let's go to 2 Samuel 14, 21 through 25. The reason I'm lining it up like this is because you'll see that Absalom, even though he did this righteous thing in a way by killing Amnon for raping his sister, he's not as good as you would think he is. All right, read.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 14 and verse 21.
Come on.
And the king said unto Joab, Behold, now I have done this thing. Go, therefore, bring the young man Absalom again.
Right, so David says, go ahead, Joab, bring him back. Read.
And Joab fell to the ground on his face and bowed himself and thanked the king. And Joab said, Today thy servant knoweth that I have found grace in thy sight, my lord, O king, in that the king hath fulfilled the request of his servant. So Joab arose and went to Geshur and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. And the king said, Let him turn to his own house, and let him not see my face.
Let him go ahead and turn to his house. I don't want to see him right now. Let him get himself together. Let him, acclimate back into Jerusalem. Read.
So Absalom returned to his own house and saw not the king's face. But in all Israel there was none to be so much praised as Absalom for his beauty.
There was none to be so much praised as Absalom. Everybody was, oh, that's a handsome child. That's a beautiful boy. That's a beautiful man. Everybody loved. He had favor with Israel. Just like a lot of these sisters be using they looks to get around in the world and do certain things. That's how Absalom was. He was able to gain entry, gain favor, and do certain things, not just by being the king's son, but because of the way he looked. Okay. Let me see. Was there more on that?
Yes,
no. Yeah, go ahead.
From the sole of his foot even to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him.
You see that? There was no blemish in him, and he was praised for that thing. So David didn't see Absalom for 2 years after he had got back in. Let's see how Absalom begins to feel about that. I mean, if I'm in the same city with my father, the king, and I don't get to see him for 2 years, I'm going to start to feel a certain way. Okay, read. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Go to 2 Samuel 14, 28, and we're going to read through 33.
Verse 28. So Absalom dwelt 2 full years in Jerusalem and saw not the king's face. Therefore Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the king, but he would not come to him. And when he sent again the second time, he would not come. Therefore he said unto his servants, See, Joab's field is near mine.
He says to his servants, hey, you see that field over there? That's Joab's. It's near my field. Read.
And he has barley there. Go and set it on fire.
Go and do what?
Go and set it on fire.
Now, this is one of the mightiest men in David's army. And he says, that field right there, go and set it on fire. He ain't going to send me up to go see my father? He not going to take me to go see my father, the king? Okay, hey, go set that field on fire. Read.
And Absalom's servants set the field on fire.
Come on.
Then Joab arose and came to Absalom unto his house, and said unto him, Wherefore had thy servants set my field on fire?
Absalom, man, what you doing, bro? That's my barley, man. Why you set my field on fire, man? Read.
And Absalom answered Joab, Behold, I sent unto thee saying, Come hither that I might send thee to the king.
I told you to come over here and send me to the king, and you ignored me, Joab. What did you expect me to do? Read.
To say, Wherefore am I come from Geshur? It had been good for me to have been there still. Now therefore, let me see the king's face. And if there be any iniquity in me, let him kill me.
If he see, let me go talk to the king. Why did I come up here? Okay, let me go talk to my father, the king. And if he still sees that I haven't changed, let him kill me himself. Okay, this is between me and my father. Joab, take me up there, man. Stop playing. All right, read.
So Joab came to the king and told him. And when he had called for Absalom, he came to the king and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the king. And the king kissed Absalom.
All right, and he received him back into his favor and to his grace. But here's the thing, all right? Absalom wanted his way. Absalom, because he was being praised throughout all Israel, and they knew him to be a good-looking young man and to be, a handsome, grow into a handsome man, he started to get favor, not just as the king, but because of the way he looked, and he became selfish and spoiled. He wanted everything his way. But guess what? He had the devil on him the whole time, and we're going to show you that. How does this fit in with the AHITHOPHEL? We're going to show you. Don't forget, that's who we're talking about, is AHITHOPHEL. Let's go to 2 Samuel 15, verses 1. 1 through 14. Read fast.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse 1. And it came to pass after this, that Absalom prepared him chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so, that when any man that had controversy came to the king for judgment, then Absalom called unto him and said, Of what city art thou?
So he says, he gets the horses and the chariots after he's seeing his father. He's like, well, that was easy. I just had to wait 2 years. Okay, here we go. Hey, what city are you from? What tribe are you from? Read.
And he said, Thy servant is of one of the tribes of Israel. And Absalom said unto him, See, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man deputed of the king to hear thee.
What you have to say is good. What you have to say is right, but there's nobody here to help you. There's nobody here from the king to help you. Does he really care about you the way that I care about you? Read.
And Absalom said, Moreover, Oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which hath any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice.
How about this? I will give you true justice. I'll be your knight in shining armor. David has sent no one to help you, but I will. I'll be that guy. I will advocate for you. Read.
And it was so, that when any man came nigh to him to do him obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him.
And he took his hand, took him and kissed him. That's his I got you. That's that kiss of death. Read.
And on this manner did Absalom to all Israel that came to the king for judgment.
So the king never really saw any of these people to get righteous judgment from the king. They was going to his son Absalom instead, stopping him before they even got to David. Read.
So Absalom stole
He did what?
So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Israel.
Come on.
And it came to pass after 40 years.
After how long?
After 40 years that Absalom said unto the king, I pray thee, let me go and pay my vow which I have vowed unto the Lord in Hebron.
So after 40 years of acquiring the children of Israel, after stealing their hearts, and David was doing his king thing, he was doing his own thing. But behind the scenes, his son Absalom was getting all of the hearts, stealing the hearts, kissing hands, shaking hands and kissing babies. Shaking babies and kissing hands, I don't know. But that's what he was doing all the while. So he says, you know what, Father, let me go up to Hebron. I have a vow that I have to tie to or attend to. Read.
Verse 8. For thy servant vowed a vow while I abode at Geshur in Syria, saying, If the Lord shall bring me again indeed to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord.
If he brings me back, I'll serve the Lord. Read.
And the king said unto him, Go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, As soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron.
So he separates from Jerusalem and goes to Hebron. And he sends spies all throughout. And he says, hey, once you hear this trumpet, know that a king has risen in Hebron. Read.
And with Absalom went out 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity.
And they went in their what?
And they went in their simplicity.
Uh-huh.
And they knew not anything.
And they didn't know what Absalom really was hiding in his heart. Read.
And Absalom sent for Ahithophel.
And Absalom sent for Ahithophel. Now we're starting to see this name come up. Read.
The Gilonite, David's counselor.
David's what?
David's counselor.
Now remember, we read in Psalms 94 and we read in Psalms, 55? He said, my guide, my counselor, mine acquaintance who ate with me has lifted up his heel against me. This is who it's talking about. Why would that ever happen? We're going to see. Come on.
From his city, even from Gilo, while he offered sacrifices. And the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom.
Come on.
And there came a messenger to David, saying, the hearts of the men of Israel are after Absalom.
Hey, David, man, everybody in Israel is with Absalom right now. Read.
And David said unto all his servants that were with him at Jerusalem, arise, and let us flee, for we shall not else escape from Absalom. Make speed to depart, lest he overtake us suddenly, and bring evil upon us, and smite the city with the edge of the sword. And the king's servants said unto the king, behold, thy servants are ready to do whatsoever my lord the king shall appoint.
Come on.
And the king went forth, and all his household after him. And the king left 10 women which were concubines to keep the house.
All right. So he kept the women behind to take care of his house. But, excuse me, you see how Absalom raises up and Ahithophel goes with him, okay? David has to flee because he knew that the Lord had already said, your house shall be divided because of this thing. You understand? So from there, let's go to page 104 and let's look at the definition of Eliam. 104, Eliam. This is what I want to look at right now. Remember, we said we would come back to that name, Eliam. Or Eliam?
Eliam.
All right. So,
Tomato.
who is this person? Let's go.
This is the who's who definition. Eliam. Hebrew, God's people. Father of King David's wife, Bathsheba.
So, Eliam is father of King David's wife, Bathsheba. Now, remember, we read when David was supposed to go out, he saw Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam. Okay? So, read that again.
Father of King David's wife, Bathsheba.
We read that. Read.
Also called
Amiel.
Amiel.
Read.
Son of Ahithophel of Gilo.
Son of Ahithophel of Gilo. So we read that Eliam, the father of Bathsheba, Eliam is also the son of Ahithophel. So Ahithophel is the grandfather of Bathsheba. So what we'll see is how Ahithophel, once he saw David's and heard of David's trespass against Uriah and against his granddaughter, how did he feel against his own acquaintance, his friend, his counselor? Did he forgive him? We'll see. All right, read that one more time.
Son of Ahithophel of Gilo. He was a mighty warrior in the army of King David.
All right, he was a mighty warrior. Ahithophel was a mighty warrior in the army of the king. Okay, so let's drop that. Let's go and let's get into Ahithophel. All right, we got a few scriptures on this, and we'll be concluded. Let's go to page 47 in the Who's Who. Watch this.
Who's who definition Ahithophel. A Gilonite who was David's leading counselor.
David's leading counselor, read.
And a man of great political judgment.
Was that it?
Yes, sir.
All right. So he had a great standing with David and in Israel. Let's go to 2 Samuel 16 and verse 23. We're going to see how great this standing was in Israel and with David. Come on.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 16 and verse 23. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God.
Was as what?
Was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God.
At the oracle of God. Read.
So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom.
With David and with Absalom, his counsel was so good, it was as if you inquired at the oracle of God. Now, what is the oracle of God? There's 3 definitions for the oracle of God. Let's go to Donovan, Bible Dictionary, page 425. All right, we're going to get through this quick. There's 3 definitions or 3 instances of the oracle of God. We're going to see how powerful Ahithophel's counsel was, both with David and with Absalom. Come on.
This is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Definition of oracle: an utterance supposedly coming from a deity and generally through an inspired medium.
So generally through an inspired medium. So a person, read.
Utterance of prophecy. Translated burden. Holy of holies in the temple.
So not only is it a person, it's the holy of holies in the temple of God. That's called the oracle of God. When you go to the holy of holies, that's called the oracle of God. Read. Is there more?
Yes, sir.
Come on.
The Old Testament was referred to as living, KJV, lively oracles. And in Hebrews 5 and 12, the oracles of God would include Christian teaching. Christians are told to speak as the oracles of God.
So the words of God. So with that being said, one definition is the place. All right. You could read about that in 1 Kings 6 and 5. That is, let's get that real quick. 1 Kings 6 and 5. We'll get through these quick. 1 Kings 6 and 5.
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 5.
Come on.
And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple.
It was the holy of holies in the temple. Now, the second place is the words. So you have a place, which is the oracle, and you have the oracles of God, which is his words. Let's go to Hebrews 5 and 12. Okay. You also have 1 Peter 4 and 11. He who speaks, let him speak as the oracle of God. Read.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 5 and verse 12.
Come on.
For when for the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God.
You see that? Of the oracles of God, the words, the laws of God. Last one. So you have place, you have words, and then you have a person, which is also called an oracle. Go to Sirach 33 and verse 3. We're looking at how powerful Ahithophel's counsel was both with David and with Absalom. Come on.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 3.
Come on.
A man of understanding trusteth in the law, and the law is faithful unto him as an oracle.
And the law is faithful unto him as an oracle. So let's go back to 2 Samuel 16 and verse 23. One more time.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 16 and verse 23. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God.
At the oracle of God. Going to the Holy of Holies and receiving the words from God himself. What? That's how the counsel of Ahithophel was. Both with who? Read.
Both with David and with Absalom.
And with Absalom. We know that Absalom was against David. Now, let's continue in this thing. All right, let's go to 2 Samuel 15, 31 through 34. We're about to wrap it up. 2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 31 through 34. Come on.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse 31. And one told David, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And David said, O Lord, I pray thee, turn the counsel of Ahithophel into foolishness.
So David has Ahithophel is so powerful in his wisdom. He says, Lord, please turn Ahithophel's counsel into foolishness. Turn it against him, O Lord. Read.
And it came to pass that when David was come to the top of the mount where he worshiped God, behold, Hushai the Archite came to meet him with his coat rent and earth upon his head.
Hushai, come on.
Unto whom David said, If thou passest on with me, then thou shalt be a burden unto me.
He's like, man, hey, man, you going to be a burden unto me. You getting too old, bro. You can't keep up, okay? If something happens to you, it's going to make me lose it, bro. Just stay here. Read.
But if thou return to the city and say unto Absalom, I will be thy servant, O king, as I have been thy father's servant hitherto, so will I now also be thy servant. Then mayest thou for me defeat the counsel of Ahithophel.
So he's setting it up. Not only does he have a faith that the Lord is going to come through, he also set things up in works. He says, look, man, you can't come with me now, but Absalom know that you ride with me, so I'm going to send you back, and you're going to pretend to be a servant unto him so that you can, in time, in due season, defeat the counsel of Ahithophel. All right, so he set that thing up in faith. He didn't know how the Lord was going to use him. He just knew that the Lord was going to use him. Okay, let's go to, was that verse 34?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to 16 and 14.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 16 and verse 14.
Come on.
And the king and all the people that were with him came weary and refreshed themselves there. And Absalom and all
So David and Israel that was with them was weary. They were tired. They were hungry. They were thirsty. They were looking for a place because they've been in Israel the whole time. Read.
And Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with them.
And Ahithophel came with Absalom. There are two peas in a pod now. Read.
And it came to pass, when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, was come unto Absalom, that Hushai said unto Absalom, God save the king.
God save the king. This is what Hushai says. Long live the king. Read.
God save the king. And Absalom said to Hushai, is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why?
You got to read that sarcastically, because that's what Absalom is saying. Read.
Is this thy kindness to thy friend? Why wentest thou not with thy friend?
Why didn't you go with your friend? Is this how you repay a friend? Read.
And Hushai said unto Absalom, nay, but whom the Lord and this people and all the men of Israel choose, his will I be, and with him will I abide.
You know, when we see a scene like this, you remember from Wakanda where the general with the bald head sister who, when the king got knocked off the waterfall, where they expected her to go with them,
Right.
and she was like, no, I will stay with the king. I serve the crown. You know what I'm saying? That's how he's acting right now. He's like, no, I'm not with David like that. Whoever sits in the seat, that's who I serve. Right? Remember, David set him up like that. Read.
Verse 19. And again, whom should I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in the Father's presence,
Come on.
so will I be in thy presence.
So will I be. Just like I served your father, I'm going to serve you the exact same way, Absalom. You better believe it. Read.
Then said Absalom to Ahithophel, give counsel among you what we shall do.
Then he asked for Absalom or Ahithophel's counsel. Absalom asked for Ahithophel's counsel. What should we do? Read.
And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines.
Remember, David left 10 concubines to dress the house and to keep it. David knew he was coming back, but he didn't know when. He didn't know what the state would be of his house. Now, David was told by the Lord and Nathan that Absalom would sleep with his concubines in the sight of all Israel. That's a heavy thing. Read.
And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, go in unto thy father's concubines, which he had left to keep the house. And all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong.
So Ahithophel gives him this counsel. He gives him the grimy, grotesque counsel. He says, look, man, I'm going to tell you what to do. You go lay down with your father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. Do the grimiest stuff. You understand? That's how everybody's going to know that you are not with your father. And guess what? They're going to know that I am not with your father. Why did Ahithophel feel like that? Because of what David did to his granddaughter. You understand that? Remember, Uriah brought up Bathsheba. He took care of Bathsheba. Ahithophel liked Uriah. So he had such a hatred for David that he conquered or conjured up all of this wisdom to give hate, to give counsel of hate against David. Let's read.
So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house. And Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. And the counsel of Ahithophel, which he counseled in those days, was as if a man had inquired at the oracle of God. So was all the counsel of Ahithophel, both with David and with Absalom.
It was very effective within Israel. All right. Now, as we come to a close, we're going to wrap it up in these last few scriptures. Give me 2 Samuel chapter 16. We just read that 17 verses 1. We're going to read fast because we got to go to verse 23. We're going to see how Ahithophel actually pans out after this. Come on.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 1.
Come on.
Moreover, Ahithophel said unto Absalom, let me now choose out 12,000 men, and I will arise and pursue after David this night.
Remember, Ahithophel was a mighty warrior as well. Not just a great counselor, but a mighty warrior. So remember Hushai. Don't forget about Hushai, y'all. Hushai was supposed to be there to give counsel against Ahithophel's counsel. He didn't say anything about the concubines. Why? Because it wasn't his time. Read.
And I will come upon him while he is weary and weak-handed, and will make him afraid, and all the people that are with him shall flee. Only I will smite the king only.
I will. Now, he knows how David get down.
Right.
He know how David fight. And he says, I know David. I know David. I know how he swing. I know how he move. I know how he fight. I know how he throw. I know how he jump. I know how he duck. I know the ins and outs of David. Plus, I have an advantage over him because he's weary, he's tired, and he's sleepy. I can beat him. Read.
And I will bring back all the people unto thee. The man whom thou seekest is as if all return. So all the people shall be in peace.
Come on.
And the saying pleased Absalom well, and all the elders of Israel.
He says, I like that. I like how you work. I like how you speak. Read.
Then said Absalom, call now Hushai the Archite also.
So why didn't he call Hushai about the first counsel with the concubines? Because that's not how the Lord set it up. The Lord is bringing this thing to a close. Read.
And when Hushai was come to Absalom, Absalom spake unto him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken after this manner. Shall we do after his saying? If not, speak thou.
Come on.
And Hushai said unto Absalom, the counsel that Ahithophel hath given is not good at this time.
Now imagine the whole room. Right. You can hear the brass cups fall all over the ground and whatever. Imagine that. That is the first time Ahithophel has ever heard something like that. Read.
For said Hushai, thou knowest thy father and his men, that they be mighty men, and they be chaffed in their minds, as a bear robbed of her whelps in the field. And thy father is a man of war, and will not lodge with the people.
Now remember what he's saying. He said he's a man of war. He will not lodge with the people. You think he tired. Hushai is saying, you think he tired, but David not tired. But really in the back of their mind, David is very tired and weary. Read.
Behold, he is hid now in some pit,
Which he wasn't. Read.
or in some other place.
Come on.
And it will come to pass, when some of them be overthrown at the first, that whosoever heareth it will say, there is a slaughter among the people that follow Absalom.
Come on.
And he also that is valiant, whose heart is as the heart of a lion, shall utterly melt. For all Israel knoweth that thy father is a mighty man, and they which be with him are valiant men.
Sure, you can come against your father. You could try it, but you might get some people, but you're not going to get all of them. And then the mighty men that are with you, their heart is going to melt. Their mind is going to melt from the war and the slaughter that David and his men do to your man, Absalom. Think about that. Read.
Therefore I counsel that all Israel be generally gathered unto thee, from Dan even to Beersheba, as the sand that is by the sea for multitude, and that thou go to battle in thine own person.
Don't send Ahithophel. You go. You get everybody from Dan to Beersheba, and you go, Absalom. You the man. Read.
So shall we come upon him in some place where he shall be found, and we will light upon him as the dew falleth on the ground.
Uh-huh.
And of him and of all the men that are with him, there shall not be left so much as one.
Right, because we know that Absalom and Ahithophel wanted to kill David. They wanted to go against David. So he gives them the best of both worlds. He says, "No, what? Don't just send Ahithophel. Don't send you go. You go, we'll go together." All right, read.
Moreover, if he be gotten into a city, then shall all Israel bring ropes to that city until we draw it into the river,
Come on.
until there be not one small stone found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel.
Oh boy, watch this. Read.
For the Lord hath appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel.
Read that slow one more time. For the Lord did what?
For the Lord hath appointed to defeat the good counsel of Ahithophel.
What counsel Ahithophel gave was good counsel, meaning that in any other situation, it would have worked.
Right.
That was good counsel. It was so good that only the Lord could defeat that counsel. You see that, Reed?
To the intent that the Lord might bring evil upon
To
Absalom.
the intent that the Lord would bring evil upon Absalom. That's why Hushai said, no, Absalom, you go. Let's go down there and get from Dan to Beersheba with all these people. And you go, Absalom. You're the man, ain't you? Let's go get your father. Right? Imagine that. Come on.
Then said Hushai unto the Zadok and to Abiathar the priest, thus and thus did Ahithophel counsel Absalom and the elders of Israel. And thus have I counseled. Now therefore send quickly and tell David, saying, lodge not this night in the plains of the wilderness.
That's how you know he wasn't in a cave or in a pit. He says, hey, David, don't be in the plains, bro. He's sending these spies to tell David, get out the plains, get out the open ground, because we coming down, read.
But speedily pass over, lest the king be swallowed up and all the people that are with him.
You see that? Because there was good counsel of Ahithophel. They were wearied. They were tired. They would have been killed, murdered, slaughtered. Read.
Now Jonathan and Ahimaaz stayed by in Rogel.
Let's skip down. Let's go to verse 21 for the sake of time.
Verse 21, and it came to pass, after they were departed, that they came up out of the well, and went and told King David, and said unto David, arise and pass quickly over the water. For thus hath Ahithophel counseled against you.
He's counseled against you, read.
Then David arose and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan by the morning light. There lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan.
You see that? They weren't in that same place that they were when the men arrived. Read.
And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose, and gat him home to his house, to his city, and put his household in order, and hanged himself, and died, and was buried in the sepulchre of his father.
And was buried in the sepulchre of his father. He committed suicide because his whole duty was to be as the oracle of God, to give counsel. But because of his hatred, the Lord took that away from him, took his job away from him. So the question is, do any of us in this truth ever carry that spirit of Ahithophel? Like what? Can't get over things that happen to us. Can't get over offenses. Still harboring hate. So now we go back into the Romans 15:4, where the things written aforetime was written for our learning. Yes, we read about who's who in Ahithophel, how great his counsel was. But what about those that are in this truth right now, are coming into this truth, or on the fences of this truth, who say that they love God, but still have hate in their heart? The Lord's going to take that spirit away from you, that spirit of wisdom, that spirit of in general, your spirit in general. Watch, I'm going to show you with these last scriptures. Go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12. We got 4 scriptures, and then we're done. So Ahithophel, the grandfather of Bathsheba, could not get over what happened to Uriah and what happened in the dismantling of the house of Uriah. He harbored hate for a very long time. And when he had the opportunity to go against David, he took it. Come on.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12.
Come on.
For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication,
Come on.
and the invention of them the corruption of life.
Come on.
For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vainglory of men,
All right. I don't think I wanted that one. Go to Proverbs 17 and 22. Bewitching of naughtiness is what the scripture says. The bewitching of naughtiness does obscure the things that are honest. All right. Let's get that. Go ahead. Proverbs 17, 22.
the book of Proverbs, chapter 17 and verse 22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit.
But a what?
But a broken spirit
Come on.
drieth the bones.
You see that? It drieth the bones. A broken spirit, it dries the bones. It takes you away from the joy of life. You're bitter. You're angry. You have hatred. You can't be around people with joy the way that you want to when you have what? When you have hatred still in your spirit. Okay? Let's go to 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20. And you know what's funny? Read AHITHOPHEL, what it means, what his name means.
Ahithophel, Hebrew, God is my brother.
God is my what?
God is my brother.
That's what it means, AHITHOPHEL. But because he was filled with so much hate, he became an enemy of God. Read.
The book of 1 John, chapter 4 and verse 20. If a man say, I love God and hated his brother, he is a liar.
He is a what?
He is a liar.
Come on.
For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen?
How can he love God which he has not seen? That's how he was towards David. Was that verse 21?
Verse 21.
Come on.
And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also.
That was the commandment. So if you call yourself a brother of God, or if that's your whole name, you're supposed to be a brother of God, you're supposed to love your brother also. God forgave David, but Ahithophel never forgave David. Go to Sirach 28, verse 1 through 2.
The book of Sirach, chapter 28 and verse 1. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord.
That's where you find Absalom, and that's where you find Ahithophel. Remember it says every bird resorted to his like. Was that Sirach 27? Is that 27 and 9? It might be it.
The book of Sirach, chapter 27 and verse 9.
Come on.
The birds will resort unto their like.
Yep, birds of a feather flock together. So because they wanted revenge, Absalom wanted revenge, and Ahithophel wanted revenge, that's where they met. That was their common interest. The Lord put them together, read.
So will truth return unto them that practice in her.
So if we practice in his truth, it's going to return unto us. But if we practice in hate, if we practice in malice, if we practice in unforgiveness, guess what? That will return unto you. When you around people that all they talk about is gossip, all they talk about is murmur, guess what? Your spirit is like that too. When you hear about hate, when you hear about all these things that's going on and you're in the middle of it, your spirit is like that too. Read.
Verse 10, as the lion lieth in wait.
That's it. So it will return unto you. But if you practice in the truth will return unto you. All right, let's go back to Sirach 28, verse 1 and 2.
The book of Sirach, chapter 28 and verse 1.
Come on.
He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Lord.
Come on.
So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest.
Come on, verse 6.
Verse 6, remember thy end, and let enmity cease.
Let what?
Let enmity cease.
Come on.
Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments.
Why do you have to remember corruption and death? Because there's no life in that. It will dry your bones, and you will be put to death because you have the love of God not in you. Read.
Verse 7, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at ignorance.
All right. So with that, Israel, I pray that you have some understanding. That was Ahithophel. Who's who? Ahithophel, the counsel, the wise counsel of hate. I pray that you brothers and sisters understand that we cannot have that spirit, that harboring spirit We have to get rid of hate. We have to get rid of the leaven in our spirit so that we may become a new loaf in Christ. All right. So that is who's who. Now you see it. Now you believe it. Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord. His word